Hey folks, it's January 1st, 2022, and I have something to explain to you that you may not understand, but if you follow my page, I will demonstrate over time exactly how corrupt Connecticut is. It's got connections to every communist leader, Joel Fishman. Every congressman bows to the Socialist Party in Connecticut. Lamont has ties to Corliss Lamont, who was a Soviet spy, pretty much. But what people don't realize is that I've been fighting them for 20 years, and I want to put documents on the screen that prove it. And if you could kindly listen and share and post and comment, you will understand over time what is happening. So, for example, time after time I have filed court cases in the Stamford Superior Court, in NASDAQ, through arbitration with the SEC, and Congressman Jim Himes has oversight of Finra, NASDAQ, SEC, financial services, of course, and all the connections to Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, the 2008 mortgage bubble, the SEC shutting down NASDAQ, the indictment of Bernie Madoff, who was chairman of NASDAQ. So, after years and years of suing NASDAQ, we've never got them in the courtroom. They've never held an arbitration, and they have committed 500,000 felonies just in Norwalk. Now, NASDAQ had an office in Trumbull, Connecticut, the Act Service Desk, which funneled trades through Connecticut to everywhere. And if you look on the screen, this is my document reader here. You see my hand? Okay. This is a federal court case I'd like to highlight. If you look at the plaintiff, John Flynn, Clairvoyant Capital, which is my holding company, and Greenwich Global LP, my brokerage firm, okay? We have sued NASDAQ hundreds of times. The problem is the Stamford Superior Court has stayed every lawsuit ever pending arbitration. Now, Bernie Madoff ran NASDAQ. So he, on the other end, stayed every arbitration pending Connecticut lawsuits at the Stamford Superior Court, held by Judge Heller, Jacobs, Provader. And recently we've been discussing how mortgage fraud, a mortgage mill operation in Connecticut, has stolen 7,000 houses from Connecticut citizens because the Stamford Court and the legislature has provided the mortgage mills in Connecticut with immunity. Okay? What do you need to know? The family court has immunity as they stripped your children from you. If they want to send them to an endocrinologist to get a sex change, they send them to the Middlesex Hospital. Who's the Middlesex Hospital? You need to know. Who are the legislators allowing your kids to be taken to DCF, where third parties decide who become their new parents? Did you know Connecticut's one of only 4 states that by writing a letter, they can have your child neutered? Yes, it's true. So the laws on the books of Connecticut, which greatly need to be adjusted, all stem from power-hungry hedge funds in Greenwich that were organized by Bernie Madoff and, for example, Halloran and Sage, a law firm, that Biff Halloran, a made man of the Gambino crime family, funded through an illegal cement mixing operation in Manhattan over years. He was indicted for price fixing of cement. Ed Halloran is involved. There are numerous attorneys involved Halloran and Sage is also one of the law firms that has attorneys stripping people of their houses, collecting the equity with immunity from Judge Carroll all the way down. Look at Judah Epstein. Look at him as a prime candidate to describe how Benchmark steals your properties, how Casanova Creek steals your property, because Judge Spader is not only a police commissioner and a judge, he's also the lobbyist for the mortgage industry, the appraisal industry, the fee-driven, fee-based, promises made collection agency skimming with immunity your houses. So I interviewed 10 people this week who are in the process of having their house stolen. Some, like Tor, had no mortgage. Some, like Mr. Pritchard, had no mortgage. What happened? A tax lien from your town, like Norwalk, has an attorney rush in who's being steered the cases by municipal employees in the city function of arranging the taxes and forwarding the taxes. Once that tax is paid by an attorney, you can't pay it. They have a lien on your house, though they have no standing to pay your taxes. Just because they wrote a check to their buddy on their payroll on, for example, the Bridgeport City payroll, doesn't mean they have a claim on your house. Okay, I've demonstrated this week alone how the mortgage mill is stealing thousands of houses all the time. And now I want to take your attention to this document on the document reader, okay? I sued Fidelity, Fiserv, NFS, that's a clearing firm, George Malley, an NASD examiner, the state's attorney, Richard Colangelo, who is financially compensated in case law, in cases in the Stanford Superior Court. Makosi won't arrest him. Okay? Paul Forensic won't arrest him. Tong won't arrest him. Why? Because the bribes that are being paid, Colangelo requests from the Attorney General. When the Barrier murder was halted by Judges Gennario and Kavanewski, Judge Kremrich, okay, there is a legal administrative misconduct where they have no immunity that has led to these thefts. The case in my hand deals with 500,000 felonies, folks. So it's no joke. Here we go. Pursuant to civil rules of the United States District Court, okay, John Flynn versus George Malley, Finra, Jack Hardy. Jack Hardy is an SEC investigator. Al Lappins, again, an SEC employee. Terry Riker, general counsel of NASDAQ. Okay, Terry Riker worked for Bernie Madoff. She is his right-hand man. His left-hand man is Mr. Carberry at Cummings and Lockwood, who's friends with Judge Heller. They're on the board of the same corporations together. They're on the Stanwich Country Club membership committee. They eat dinner together at their Stanwich Country Club in Greenwich, Connecticut, which has every fund manager in Connecticut as a member that steer financial crimes through the SEC and Finra arbitration process with the help of the Stanford Superior Court. So now, Brett Larrabee, who's that? That is the ex-police chief of the city of Stanford who worked for Malloy for 10 years, who arranges hitmen to kill people, okay? So what I'm saying here is there are direct connections through the federal court that refuses to hear a single securities-related case as a favor to Bernie Madoff. So they went after Bernie Madoff as the largest Ponzi scheme in American history, okay? But what they didn't do is go to the cocktail parties where Jim Himes is working for the financial service industry, working for Bear Stearns, Lehman Brothers, AIG, okay? Look at the facts, folks. Bank America is Jim Himes' largest donor. What happened here? Jim Himes protects Bank America through his connections through the DNC. Why? Because the Financial Services Committee, the pharmaceutical industry, through OxyContin, Purdue Pharma in Stamford, Connecticut, pays bribes to the DNC, trickles down, and they get control of the brokerage accounts where people are being robbed in Connecticut. Now, here, Judge Underhill, okay? Another problem. Refusing to hear racketeering cases naming our chief state's attorney, Richard Colangelo. What's the problem here? Now Richard Colangelo, as chief state's attorney, is accused of taking a bribe in FST CV 20-502-3122-S, Flynn versus Barrier. Now, the Stamford Police Department, okay, murdered a kid 2 years ago at 1:30 in the morning. 6 cops tasered him to death, and they bragged how they made him shit his pants. Okay, fine. The problem is, 4 hours after the murder, they came back to the property, 21 cops in tow, with their body cams on, and staged the running scene where the kid wasn't tortured to death. This is a problem. We have the video. We're receiving death threats. You know what? We've had quite a few problems with the Stamford Superior Court and their 20-year investigation of the 500,000 felonies dealing with this case right here I have on screen. So what do you need to know? Well, there's a lot. In 2005, I wrote a 105-page complaint to the State Banking Commission. Okay, I received threats from the state police who are weaponized by the State Banking Commission. But when you look at Chrome, let me put it on, let me switch. Here you go. Excuse me. This is State Banking Commission right here. Jorge Perez. All these photographs. He's in charge. He does nothing. Banking czar. Okay? Banking czar. Russian. Got it? Russian. Okay? And when you file a complaint with the State Banking Commission, though it might be 105 pages with 50 pounds of check fraud evidence, they have failed to get back to us for 20 years. People are not allowed to question their actions, and people seriously need to start looking at the court cases that are stayed at the federal court dealing with the millions of crimes orchestrated in Connecticut through Bernie Madoff, who Jim Himes is receiving bribes from Bank America for years and years. So let's all look at Jim Himes. He's sitting on the Intelligence Committee. Comey accuses Himes of the Russian collusion hoax. Blumenthal accuses Comey of the Russian collusion hoax. Now, everything comes back to my congressman, who I have visited with in 2008, 9, 10, 11, and 12. I go to his speeches. I get in the line. I ask him questions about Greenwich Global LP. And when you look at the problems created, these are not simple problems. I am claiming in this document, on the document reader, that when NASDAQ went public, I invested in the private placement twice. I'm saying I bought NASDAQ shares at $13 through the private placements. That stock is at 220 now. I own thousands of shares. Where are they? They are missing. So, very clearly put, what I'm saying is obstruction of justice is a predicate act under RICO. When you look at what Jim Himes is doing and the corruption, and you look at this interactive toolbox, if you look in an office that is connected to this office, and you read these questions to Al Lappins and Jack Hardy, these are SEC employees that answer to Jim Himes. When you look at the cases that are filed through Andrew White, attorney for the SEC, George Malley at Cummings and Lockwood, his attorney is Bernie Madoff's attorney, John Carberry, who happens to be friends with Judge Heller, Jacobs, Provader, and 25 other judges at the Stanford Superior Court. But this is what's most important right here, folks. Assistant Attorney Richard Fisk, Attorney General, Public Safety, 100 Sherman Street, Hartford, Connecticut, and Natalie Elliker. Who's Natalie Elliker? Who are the Ellikers? You tell me. Assistant United States Attorney. What I am saying, folks, is there are hundreds of court cases, which I have the documents for, that the state of Connecticut and Elizabeth Condren criminally concealed. Criminally concealed. Now there's a case pending where Pritchard went after 12 judges for mortgage fraud. What I'm saying is there is a racketeering ring in Stamford, Connecticut, run by Richard Colangelo, run by the SEC, run by NASDAQ, ran by Bernie Madoff, which Judge Provader, Heller, Jacobs, Malloy, the governor, covered up, and many other judges covered up. More than 25 judges covered up. I'm saying there's a cabal in Connecticut, and it's the ring of judges that have immunity through the state's attorney and the state banking commission. If, for example, my brokerage firm, Greenwich Global LP, had 6 day trading machines, NASDAQ workstations, tied to multiple bank accounts across the state, when those machines were stolen and executed trades from New Haven, from Hartford, from East Haven, from Wilton, Connecticut, from Norwalk, Connecticut, why did all those police departments in concert cover up millions of felonies? Millions of felonies. Hundreds of millions of dollars. Hundreds of millions of dollars. What did they do? Well, they attacked the biotechnology industry, folks. They worked for the federal government to destroy the NASDAQ mechanism for raising money of small biotechs that had high burn rates. Now, if you go and watch the Boiler Room movie, you will see that small broker-dealers were playing a pump and dump scam on fictitious companies. That's not what happened in biotech. That's what they claimed happened in biotech. All the small biotechs from Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, and New York had operations to raise money that were legal. And the district attorney of New York, Robert Morgenthau, had a task force targeting small biotechs that raised money legally so that the FDA and the CDC and all these NIH corporations could consolidate the biotech vaccine industry far in advance of what happened with what's going on today with vaccine policy. What I'm saying is that all roads lead to Richard Colangelo and his theft of biotechnology information. When you look at the documents that we have, when you look at the files of information that you should be concerned about, okay? We have a gigantic mortgage fraud problem in Connecticut. Yes, because Judge Carroll gave immunity to the mortgage mills. Yes, Judge Carroll, through the lobbyist groups, gave power to attorneys who are commissioners of the court, gave them immunity to rob you. And that's exactly what's happening all over the state, all the time. Now, what I'm saying is, that's one specific industry, the mortgage industry. Then look at DCF. Look at the family court. They have immunity too. And guess who else has immunity? Richard Colangelo. Richard Colangelo is taking bribes and collecting payments from hedge funds, for example, Ray Dalio. Ray Dalio runs the largest hedge fund in the world. He hired Comey to work for him from the Connecticut FBI. Comey ran the Hartford FBI. Ray Dalio gave him a $3 million signing bonus and paid him $14 million to work for his hedge fund. Okay? Grace Farms in New Canaan, Connecticut. Now you see the recent mortgage fraud in New Canaan, Connecticut. You see the mortgage fraud widespread, Bridgeport, Connecticut. Why? From Judah Epstein. From who? From Benchmark, from Casanova Creek. And 10 people came forward this week saying, I got robbed the same way. Oh, mine's different. I got robbed through forgery. I got robbed through the purchase of tax liens. I got robbed, why? Through the probate court. I got robbed for different reasons. Different people with no mortgages got robbed. Okay? Tor's mother owned a house. She couldn't will it to him. It got caught up in probate. The water bill was for a few $1,000s. They foreclosed on Tor's house and took it for nothing. Okay? No equity. What happened to Pritchard? A $3.5 million house had a fictitious mortgage on it. There is no $200,000 mortgage. Read the transcripts of the people cross-examined about the mortgage that doesn't exist. They have no idea what the guy's talking about. There is no mortgage. Okay? Judge Spader knows that the case we highlighted yesterday for William, that's a forgery, folks. That's not his signature. The hearing was denied. Pritchard's hearing was denied. Our hearings were denied. Why? Because Gennaro set it up so Kremrich could non-suit, so that Kavanowski could non-suit. They're working together, and there's a threat that has been made, I want to highlight next, where the judge is confronted And the judge says, you can come after me, knock me out, but we're working together, and you're not going to get all the judges to recuse himself. Here we go. We have a judge who recused himself and continuously rules on a case after he recused himself. Is that misconduct that Mikosi won't investigate? Is that misconduct that the FBI won't investigate? I went to the FBI this week, again, for the 150th time. They said, Mr. Flynn, you keep calling. I said, well, I never called about mortgage fraud before. I've called about check fraud. I've called about securities fraud. I've called about accounting fraud. I've called about every type of fraud there is. But to claim to the FBI that I have 10 attorneys claiming to be my attorney that I don't know that are cashing stolen checks, I say to you, those bank accounts were taken over by a judge. That law firm cashed my stolen checks. That is a commissioner of the court. So I'm asking for the arrest of Judge Spader in the next 5 days. I asked he be arrested by January 6th. I'm asking right now that Judge Adams be arrested by January 7th. Okay? You got till January 6th to arrest Judge Spader. You got till January 7th to arrest Judge Adams. Have you noticed my phone's ringing continuously? That's because people are calling about mortgage fraud because they're losing their houses during a pandemic. 14 people are being evicted right now, and one of them is a special needs kid. You can fault whoever you want because the court is closed by executive order of your governor, and you should impeach him over that. That is criminal, that the court is closed while the General Assembly is pulling the strings like a puppet over these judges. Look at the judiciary. Look at Jorge Perez not answering phone calls, not responding to letters, while Bernie Madoff arranges hedge funds to bribe your congressman, Jim Himes. And he's just one, okay, on the Intelligence Committee sitting next to Schiff that framed a sitting president. Why? Because Murphy's doing his part. Oh, yes, Murphy threatened the Ukraine president. Look at Blumenthal and Murphy accepting bribes from lobbyist Leitner, okay, at Burisma during an impeachment. And they both voted that they were impartial to impeach a sitting president while collecting bribes. Look at 5G. Look at the bribes. Look at the bribes on 5G. Oh, there's no health risk. There is a cancer cluster in Norwalk already from stone crushing while they look the other way. There is such a risk of 5G that you can't calculate it. In Russia and Poland, the nanowatt limit for 5G F radio frequency radiation is 10. The limit in Connecticut is 600. Why? Because 15 fries your DNA. 12 fries your testicles. Look at the studies on sperm. Every single kindergarten student in Connecticut will be infertile if you allow your legislature to continue to proceed. So what I'm asking for is 99% of the vote in Connecticut against Richard Blumenthal to stop this madness. The madness that is occurring. Richard Blumenthal wants to appease everyone, including Al-Qaeda, including ISIS-K, including the Chinese who are wiping out the Falun Gong. Do you realize Richard Blumenthal owns Chinese partnerships, Chinese radio stations, Chinese television stations, malls in China, in Shanghai, next to Shanghai Disney? And guess what? Guess what? He's the biggest liar there is. He's got connections to every communist organization in Connecticut, and we've gone over it before. He was recently confronted about his ties to communism. He's Mr. Stolen Valor. What you don't understand is that his son of Stolen Valor, is on the judiciary of the Connecticut Senate. He's on the father's on the Senate judiciary of the U.S. Senate, and his Stolen Valor son is on the judiciary of the state of Connecticut, operating with allowing the bias, allowing obvious bias in every court case against every pro se litigator in the state. Every single pro se litigator in the state of Connecticut is refused subpoenas, refused fee waivers, refused discovery, interrogatories, articulation, admissions. You can go on and on. Refused witnesses. There are mortgage cases where witnesses are refused. And those witnesses are the reason the money has been stolen, and these judges have immunity for providing immunity to the people giving them criminal kickbacks. If you don't think Bernie Madoff was getting kickbacks for his $50 billion Ponzi scheme in Connecticut, you have got a rude awakening coming. I'm saying these documents I've been showing you, like the one in my hand, is case after case of federal court staying arbitration at NASDAQ while the state of Connecticut is staying Connecticut court cases denying due process for millions of financial crimes. Now, this is from August 2016. If they acted then, they would not have Richard Colangelo accepting bribes in murder cases in 2020. So this case implicates murder bribes by police that are killing kids with tasers in Stamford, Connecticut. And if you read the book Rogue Town, you will see that Stamford has a problem with organized crime since the 1960s. It's never been fixed. Look at Mayor Martin, who just got ousted, who organized the bribes to everyone affiliated with the NAACP in Norwalk and Stamford, everyone receiving bribes related to Black Lives Matter in Stamford, Connecticut, who, I might add, funds Richard Blumenthal's campaign. Look at Act Blue. Act Blue is funded by Black Lives Matter and Antifa. Okay? They fund Richard Blumenthal's campaign on the judiciary of the U.S. Senate. He's my opponent in 2022. This is our year, folks. We need to stop the madness. Did you notice the Christmas parade where 50 people were injured and 6 people were murdered? That was a Black Lives Matter person. Black Lives Matter caused the Christmas parade where the dancing grannies got run over by a madman who is asking you to fund Richard Blumenthal's campaign through Act Blue. He's asking Antifa and Black Lives Matter, which has never been investigated by the Senate Judiciary, for unspeakable crimes across the nation, looting, while progressives, which Richard Blumenthal is, allow the crime wave across America and the murder spree across America, while prison release allows every convict out of his prison term back on the streets during COVID to allow prosecutors to get funded by George Soros and all the prosecutors in Philadelphia, Boston, Minnesota, California, all these prosecutors that want prison release, and they want prisoners to back the Senate campaign of Richard Blumenthal, my opponent. Thank you very much. I tried to explain how the federal court and the superior court are working with hedge funds to fund the destruction of the United States. Have a great day. And I thank you. Flynn2022. Please get involved. Please get involved. You can help any Republican. You don't have to help me. But get involved.